Did you know that 7 out of 10 people admit to comparing themselves to others, particularly on social media? And social media is going to be our focus of our topic today. How often, or have you ever, maybe I should say, scrolled through your feed and felt this pang or sense of feeling inadequate? I know I have. You're not alone. So today, let's uncover how this is the thief of joy and how you can reclaim your self worth. In this video today, in this live, you will learn how comparing yourself to others can really erode your self esteem, and you will learn some practical strategies to overcome um, that habit and start appreciating your unique qualities. If you don't know me or you're new to my world, I'm Sandy and I am your self discovery coach. And I am dedicated to helping you recognize your self worth and accept your flaws. Yes, we all have flaws, so we need to accept them and believe in your capabilities. I can tell you that there's been a lot of times, and it takes practice, it takes effort, just like anything. When I first started coaching and going through my coaching training, and I was just starting out, I would see what other people were doing and think, oh, I'm not doing enough. Oh, I should be doing that. And I had to regularly tell myself, stop. It's your journey. You're not that other person. You have to do what is particular or resonating with you. So, how often do you find yourself comparing yourself to others, whether it's your life, your achievements, even your appearance to other people? I did a poll, I think it was yesterday. I did a poll. Only 11 of you voted, so go vote on that poll. But of those 11, 5 people said sometimes, 4 people said rarely, and 2 people said never. So cheers to those that said rarely or never. Sometimes you're getting there. It just takes practice. So let's dive in a little bit and talk about um, the psychology, if you will, behind comparison. So really think about this. So honestly, it's learned because think about it. When you're a child and you're learning to do things, how do you do it? You learn because you watch other people. We watch others, and that's how we learn how to do things. So it becomes kind of in the evolutionary perspective, if you will, um, the it was almost a survival mechanism. And if you think back even farther, our ancestors, there was that hunter-gatherer society where, hunters would learn how to be better hunters by watching other people. And so it started way back when. And so we're so ingrained in that whole notion of watching others and comparing. There are aspects of it that can be helpful. Um, but before we get into that, so there's different types of comparison. So maybe it's an upward comparison where you are looking at somebody else and you're perceiving them as being better. May or may not be true. It's the story that we tell ourselves, or it's the story that our parents tell us, or that we pick up on and learn from. And then there's the downward comparison where you are watching and comparing to somebody else that you perceive as worse off. Again, it's a story that we spin in our head. So, but it's that social comparison theory where, the whole keeping up with the Joneses and We always want, something that we don't have. It can be situational, and in certain situations, it's not necessarily a bad thing. Um, athletes compare their performance to that of a more accomplished competitor to help them identify areas for improvement. And then they set higher training goals. Um, so that is an area. It can be motivation for growth. Um, there's an aspect of social identity and belonging that can also be what I call situational. So when you're comparing yourself to individuals um, that understand their place within a social group and contribute to a sense of belonging. And so by aligning with those group norms and standards, you feel more connected to that social circle. Again, it can be good or bad. It can have positive or negative effects. An example for that might be in a workplace. Employees um, might compare their work habits and achievements to those of their colleagues. And that can help them, ensure that they're meeting organizational expectations and feel part of the team. So again, can positive aspects and not so positive. So that whole social identity and belonging aspect. So then there's the whole social media aspect, which is really kind of my focus here, but social media can really amplify that tendency. So, and think about it, there's a constant bombardment when we're on social media. It's available 24/7. If you're just sitting there scrolling on your phone all the time, um, it can create that sense of less than or better than or whatever you want to call it. But think about it, there's sometimes you have to put it in perspective. It could be an idealized representation. Sometimes people are only putting the best aspects of their lives on social media, so we think, oh, they've got it so great, they're doing this, they're doing that, but they're not putting the lesser parts of their life. They're only putting the best. So there's that idealized representation. Um, there's the aspect of social validation and approval that impacts us. We see, we judge it by how many comments we get or how many likes we get, and compared to what other excuse me, compared to what other, people get. You might feel disappointed if your post receives fewer likes compared to your friend's similar post, which can lead to self-doubt and a negative self-assessment. There's also the whole aspect of FOMO, fear of missing out. And again, it's that perceived exclusivity because social media often might highlight or people put on their exclusive events and experiences, and that leads to your fear of missing out. Comparisons in that context can bring about feelings of exclusion and dissatisfaction with your own life. Seeing a friend's party or event to which maybe you weren't invited can create feelings of loneliness and the belief that others are having more fun and that they lead more exciting lives. Um, so my next question for you is, have you noticed how comparison makes you feel inferior or unworthy? Be honest here. There are emotional and mental consequences. Um, feeling insufficient. It leads to a lack of confidence and a diminished sense of self worth. You can, maybe you feel inadequate when you see your friends' career achievements on social media, believing that that you haven't accomplished enough in your own career. There's the whole notion of jealousy. The whole, envying somebody else's success, their possessions or their qualities or their vacations or whatever. That can sometimes cause resentment and can strain relationships. Um, there's this leads to self-doubt. It's that self-doubt can paralyze your progress, leading to a fear of failure. It can also lead to anxiety or depression. And I won't go on into details. I think we all know what those are. It can lead to diluted personal goals. You see what somebody else is doing, and that whole comparison thing, you're constantly comparing yourself to somebody else. You could end up adopting their goal instead of pursuing your own because you think that's the golden ticket, if you will, rather than being true to your own goals. It can lead to value misalignment, again, where you're focusing on somebody else's values because you think in that whole comparison, that it you convince yourself that that's the value you need to focus on. It can lead to reduced authenticity when you are comparing yourself to somebody else and then you start emulating that person because you think that is, that's the it factor. Um, and then you're not being true to yourself. That whole notion of conforming, the desire to fit in, to measure up, it can cause you to lose your unique trait because you're conforming to somebody else's expectations. You may have heard me talk about before, how I felt like a chameleon, because I would say yes when I did it when I really wanted to say no. And it's that same thing. I wasn't necessarily comparing myself, but I didn't want to, I wasn't being authentic to my values because I didn't want to disappoint somebody else. It's the same concept, same kind of thing, which can ultimately lead to mental and emotional exhaustion. So, which disconnects us from our passions. So, my question then is, thinking about all of these things, are you ready to break free from the cycle of comparison, of that whole compare and despair cycle? I know I am, that's me. So here are some practical tips or tools, if you will, to help you break out of that cycle. So one is self-recognition. Set aside, I would encourage you, set aside regular time to reflect on your achievements and your accomplishments. And you'd be amazed how writing them down can really help you and can really boost that self-confidence. I've done that before where I have felt like I didn't feel like was doing enough or had done enough in my business. And I sat down, and I wrote out all the different things I had done, presentations I'd done, workshops, freebies I'd created, all that different thing. And I realized, wow, I've done a lot more than I thought I had. But I was so busy comparing myself to what other people were doing and that they were so much farther ahead that I lost sight of my own my own accomplishments. So I would encourage you and invite you to set aside regular time for that reflection. Journal about it. Maintain a journal where you can keep track of your accomplishments, whether it's a notebook or on your notes app on your phone, whatever works. Do it daily. You've heard me talk about this before, but positive affirmations and doing those daily. I actually have a daily practice as part of my morning routine. I start off with gratitude, and that's next on my list. So let's talk about both of them. But I every day, and I actually have a couple different places. It's part of my morning routine, and then when I'm doing my planning for the day, I use a little notebook for my planning, and there's a little place for me to put gratitude. And so every day I'm writing down things I'm grateful for. And then I do what I call a power thought or a positive affirmation. I do that every single day, and it's amazing how I've been doing that now consistently for a couple of years, and it's amazing how it sets the tone for my day, and it just makes me feel better about myself. So that daily positive affirmations, and then keeping that gratitude journal again, whether it's a notebook or a journal or a notes app on your phone, and there's all kinds of apps that you can get on your phone that help you with that whole process of gratitude and affirmation. So try those. I am statements that pop up on my phone probably 3 or 4 times a day, and because it's connected to my watch, they come up on my watch as well. so, so the positive affirmations and then the gratitude journal. In addition to the gratitude journal, have a gratitude ritual. Incorporating it into your daily routine, like I talked about, and then sharing it. And that's something I probably need to do better at because I don't share it a lot, but I've been doing it for a while. But, I would encourage you, share those items, those gratitude items with your friends. It can help, and family, it can help foster that positive environment. In a family situation, maybe you at the dinner table, it could be everybody goes around and shares something positive that happened for the day or something that they're grateful for. It's just something that, helps the whole family. So another tip or tool is um, setting personal goals, and they can be value based. You do value based goals that an example could be, like maybe you define success as having a balanced life. So you set a goal that includes career achievements as well as time for family and hobbies. So it's, individual to each person. And let me just say, I mean, as a coach, that's part of what I help people with. So that is something, I this month being my birthday month, I offered everybody a free coaching session. And that's something that we could talk about. I said, it would be bringing one thing you want to work on. Maybe that's something you want some help with setting up. Happy to do that. Um, so in addition to those goals being value based, personalize your milestones, that have individual benchmarks. It's not about, what Joe Schmo over there did. It's what is that achievement for you? Maybe spending 5 minutes a day is a true success for you because you haven't been doing anything and you don't feel like you have the time. Versus somebody else, I mean, me, I spend probably an hour every morning, but that's something I've built up to. So because I spend an hour doesn't mean you have to. 5 minutes, whatever is a success to you is what's important. And because remember, it's progress over perfection. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's making that step, taking that step forward, small steps. There, when I was going through my coach training, they had a saying, and they said it was small hinges swing big doors. And when you think about it, you look at the hinges on a door, they're tiny. but yet they hold this big door. And it's the same concept. Those small steps lead to big goals. So start small, celebrate your efforts along the way, making sure that you're celebrating and, having, some sort of a reward, even if it's just, doing a happy dance and, at your desk, whatever it is, celebrate it. And then learn from your setbacks. When something doesn't go according to plan, really think about, okay, what can I learn from this? Ask yourself and be honest with yourself. Promoting viewing setbacks it's an opportunity to learn and to grow. Okay, so another way to help you in this area is to limit social media exposure. And I did a post the other day about curating your content. So first of all, it's being mindful about your following, who you're friending, who you're accepting friends requests from, who you are, deciding to follow. It's perfectly okay for you to unfriend or unfollow or even block somebody that creates that negative feeling. I have done that multiple times, and it also depends on what's going on in the world at the time. Okay, right now it's all about politics, and so I have done that before where you can snooze people for 30 days, and I've done that. And I've blocked people who, they just never have anything nice to say. I don't want that energy on my page. So I'll give them, a couple of chances, but if it continues, I have no qualms about blocking somebody, and you shouldn't either. So that's what I mean by that content curation. If you have somebody who's on your feed who is constantly, posting negative things or, and I'm not talking about you don't agree with them, although that could be the case. You have to decide what works for you. Um, and then engaging in a positive manner, engaging with positive content and communities that support your values and your goals and that. So you don't have to participate in those, in those negativity naysayers, whatever you want to call it. Another tool is digital detox periods. Maybe, a thing you could do is to schedule regular breaks from social media. I know people that have taken, I have one friend, she takes the entire month of January off from social media. And I know somebody else who does that periodically, and they do that for their own preservation and peace of mind. And when they come back, they always talk about how much they enjoyed it. And so that is certainly something, maybe it's that you limit yourself to the amount of time you spend on social media. Maybe it's I'm only going to be on social media an hour a day or, like I'll be on there. I'm not on there all day long. I'll do my posts and, maybe I might check periodically, but I've worked really hard to curate my content and curate. I go on there so I can engage in my posts and other posts, but I've worked really hard to create an environment of positivity. So I, there are times, especially like right now during politics season, where I might want to take a break. But that is certainly, something that you could consider. Another one might be a detox challenge. Maybe you suggest to your friends and family, you get a group and you do a challenge together, online. It doesn't have to be organized by anybody in particular, but maybe it's a month-long digital detox challenge, limiting your social media to 30 minutes a day or less. Um, and then make sure that you're reflecting on how you felt, on your feelings and your productivity after those detox periods. So those are just a few of the, ideas and tools. There could be others. So what are the takeaways from today? So one of them, number one, is comparison is the thief of joy. Sorry, y'all, my voice is, excuse me. Let me take a drink of water. Ah, comparison is the thief of joy. Number two is to embrace your unique journey. Understand that your path is different and uniquely yours, and you don't have to do what everybody else does. And the third is to practice self gratitude. Regularly acknowledge and appreciate your own achievements and qualities. I would love to see your questions in the comments. I am not able to see them while I'm live, but I do go back afterwards. I would also love it if you would share what strategies that you have found helpful, or if you don't have a strategy, which one of the strategies that I shared are you thinking about trying or that you're going to try? Share that in the comments. So before I close, coming up next week, we will be focusing on tapping into confidence, boosting our self-esteem. So I'll be going live this same time next week. Also, watch for details about my upcoming, I'm going to start promoting it next week, my upcoming workshop, Redefining Me. And it's a workshop for women who are ready to craft that next chapter. So excited about this workshop. And I can't wait to share it with you. And I'll be talking more about it in the coming weeks. Remember, your worth is not measured by other people's standards. Embrace your journey, appreciate your growth, and believe in your capabilities. Until next time, stay true to you. Ciao.